How on earth do I balance training for a 3-hour marathon, a 9 till 5 job, and dad life? You guys tell me. This time last year, my life went through an absolute monumental change. And no, it's not what you're thinking. It's something even bigger than that. So about 9 or 10 months ago, I turned up for my first ever park run. I ran it in around, I think it was about 22 minutes or 21 minutes and a half. And since then, I have not looked back. I've got the absolute bug for running. I can't do enough running. So I have signed up for a marathon towards the end of this year, and also marathon, Chester Marathon, the 5th of October. So since doing that park run, I have ran a half marathon race where I was aiming for a sub 1 hour 30 and did that in 1 hour 46 seconds. So close, but unfortunately no cigar. And then I've also, immediately after that, I did a 9-week training block for a 10k race, which I was pretty confident I was going to get a sub 40 minutes. And I ended up getting 40 minutes and 3 seconds. So fallen short slightly just again. So I was absolutely gutted with that one. But yeah, I'll get into that one and analyse what I think went wrong with that in a sec. But essentially, I have got this marathon towards the end of the year. I'm in week 1 of week 16 of this marathon block. Starting off this week with about 60 kilometres. The difficulty for me though is I am working 9 till 5 Monday to Friday. The missus is now back in work pretty much full time, and I also have to balance that with changing an absolute insubstantial amount of these bad boys. Dad life. So we'll have to see how we get on, but I'll get into what those marathon goals are in a sec. But yeah, let's break down what went wrong with that 10k the other week. So I was that confident that I was going to get a sub 40 minutes. I basically said to myself, if I break that time, I'm going to treat myself to a nice new watch. At the moment, I'm using the Apple Watch SE, and I wanted to treat myself to a Garmin going into the marathon block. But then obviously I didn't get that 40 minutes. So I think the first reason why I didn't actually get the time I wanted was probably because I didn't already have the watch to begin with. So I've only gone and done it, boys. I've gone and splashed the cash. Joking aside, I think it was an absolute perfect storm. So all the training I did for it, the 9-week training block for that race, was based on the assumption that it was a completely and utterly flat race. But that wasn't the case at all. It was more of a rolling elevation. It was 77 metres elevation gain over the 10,000 metres, which is actually towards the top end of rolling. When it gets over 100 metres, it then switches to a class as a hilly course. So I did absolutely no hill training at all during the 9-week training block going into that 10k. And I think that made a difference. If I'd have done it on a flat course, or a completely flat road race, or on an athletics track, I'm confident that I would have beat 40 minutes. Second reason, I think I actually went off too conservatively. I've made the mistake in the past of going off way too quick, like an absolute greyhound out the blocks during some 5Ks. So I really tried to conserve my energy, and I actually think I left too little too late. I had my fastest kilometre in the 10th kilometre, so I was actually speeding up, but I kind of ran out of distance to be able to claw back the time. And then third reason, bit of a rubbish reason, but I have put on a little bit of timber around the midriff recently, had a few weekends away, been away in Lanzarote with the family. So I've been cutting back calories a bit just to get that in check. So the week of the 10k, I was probably underfueled. In fact, I definitely was underfueled. I wasn't eating anywhere near enough, but that's not really a viable excuse. But I think those 3 reasons are the reasoning behind it. So that time of the 10k is then feeding the time that I am inputting into the calculator on Runner to start the training block for the marathon. So 40 minutes and 3 seconds. If the marathon training is too difficult, I'll just scale it back. And if I'm not finding it challenging enough, I'll just adapt that as we go through. So the goal for the marathon is to try and get a sub 3 hour 10, as close to that 3:05 as what we can. I think a sub 3 is just going to be too ambitious, especially given the performance within that 10k race. I would love to adopt the train harder, not smarter attitude, but unfortunately us mere mortals just haven't got the lifestyle that can accommodate right now. I think the hardest thing for me is obviously going to be balancing a full-time job, dad life, with all the training. Listen, if you want to follow along and see how I get on over the 16 weeks, Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. This has been Ben, full-time dad, part-time runner. See you soon.